guys, I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran, mainly working at DC Comics, and I'm here with Yanzi Lin, and we are going to talk about the time, I guess it almost happened. Jim Lee, it is official. Jim Lee almost left DC Comics, a rudderless company. I don't know what he was going to walk out on. It's not like he's really guiding the company into any type of publishing initiative whatsoever. But he was going to leave DC Comics to go to Marvel to draw X-Men, and this was coming up off of the Deadpool Wolverine. Before we get into this news, have you considered backing Inglorious Rex 3? This is our crowdfunded series, Volume 1 and Volume 2. You can still buy in shop. You'll absolutely love it if you like Godzilla, if you like MMA, if you like action, if you love Hulk. You'll absolutely adore Inglorious Rex. Please click the link and check that out. So on to Jim Lee. Jim Lee, I guess, had a negotiation. It does seem like it was a negotiation, or he went to Marvel. It's not the other way around. Marvel didn't go to Jim Lee. Jim Lee actually went to Marvel. I'm assuming his contract was up at DC Comics. Jim needed to a bargaining chip, I think, or the grass is always greener. Now, according to this, Jim's the scenario says a lot of people were asking Jim Lee to sign more X-Men books than his Batman books. Now, is that true? Maybe, possibly, sure. I do think Jim Lee was a better X-Men artist than a DC artist. But for people who don't know, a little bit of history here is Jim Lee he had a part of Image, and the name of that company was Wildstorm. Now, Wildstorm was bought out by Warner Brothers, not for the characters, you would think. Now, there is an Authority movie they are making, but they didn't buy Wildstorm for Wildcats or the Authority or anything like that. They actually bought Wildstorm to get Jim Lee. And from there, Jim Lee started working on Hush. Now, a lot of people don't know, from start to finish, Jim Lee spent about 3 years on Hush, as I was told by Bob Schreck, a Batman editor at the time, editor of the book. That's why Hush wasn't a Batman #1. That's why it was just a random issue of Batman it started in, is because they didn't know when they were going to throw the run into the mix of the normal monthly series Batman. So you end up with that random number. So the argument here is, at least from Rob Liefeld, is that Jim hasn't really felt like drawing interiors for a while, or he hasn't done very many, as one of the last times was in, like, I don't know, like around New 52 era or something. But even after that, he drew some Suicide Squad pages that were about 10 pages for about 6 or 7 issues, I guess. So he wasn't ever drawing like a full comic. And I don't expect Jim to still draw monthly comics, but a good 5-issue run. Hell, we had a Mark Silvestri Batman run recently. I mean, Rob's working on Deadpool once again, which is supposed to be, again, Rob, according to Rob, his last outing with the character is he's getting too old. And you'll start to notice, well, these legends that have made it rain in comics, that formed Image Comics, that some of the record sales in comics are all kind of like the few that will still draw are like, yeah, I'll work on this, I'll work on that. And according to Lee, when he was negotiating this deal to go and work on X-Men once again, specifically X-Men at this pivotal time when basically Disney has the franchise back from buying Fox. But he actually was trying to working with Kevin Feige. If I had to guess, he was looking for like a chief creative officer type job, which he's had at DC Comics when Geoff Johns left. Nothing good has came from Jim Lee being a chief creative officer, though, at DC Comics. We've ended up with movies like The Flash, stuff like that. So what Marvel would have really been buying is just that retro look at Jim Lee. You like X-Men 97. Look at the guy that you guys recognize as kind of the designer of a lot of this prized team of X-Men: Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Cyclops, Pouches. You kind of think of Jim Lee, right? So it sounded good, at least, until he decided to take DC's offer. What do you...
Look, it all just boils down to money at this point, okay? So he's negotiating, trying to work with Kevin Feige, and obviously he wants some of that Hollywood cheddar, all right? That's all it boils down to. And he took the offer that Marvel gave him and went back to DC and said, hey, this is what Marvel is offering me if I exit this company. Now, what is your counter?
Right.
Now, obviously, again, DC said, all right, you know what? We are going to give you even more than what they offered. probably some extra money as well for whenever something gets adapted into a movie under James Gunn. Who knows what the deal is? The point is, Jim Lee did not leave for Marvel. Now, this way that they're playing this game, it's not a new thing with Marvel, basically. They have Chris Claremont on staff. And yet, there hasn't been a Chris Claremont book in how long or whatever? They basically are hiring him to keep him from working for the other company, in this case, which would be DC. So I can see that DC is just going to up their offer on Jim Lee just to keep Jim Lee away from Marvel. I guess he's just going to keep doing whatever he's doing. We also know that recently Jim Lee wants to say, yeah, you know what? It's time for me to start picking up commissions again. Nobody knows what the real reasoning is behind it. And there are quite a lot of stipulations with the commissions too. Like you can commission him online, but you have to pick up at the show that he's going to. He's not going to mail it to you. I guess, postal theft for a Jim Lee original could be pretty prominent. So for a guy who pretty much has a nice big paycheck from DC and a lot of fan support, and he can get away with drawing this kind of stuff for $20,000, hey, why not? It's Jim Lee, you guys. I guess he can pretty much just retire now, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why he's playing this game, man.
Retire off of drawing Bluey. Let's go. No, the reality is, and this is the sad part, and the very sad time in comics, is there are a lot of people, and I'm going to put Jim Lee up there with people like Tom Brevoort, C.B. Cebulski, a lot of guys that are just hanging on. They're hanging on and doing whatever it takes just to keep their normal paycheck. Nobody's actually riding the ship. Nobody's actually trying to make a better comic. None of these people, to my knowledge, are actually looking for the next Jim Lee, and that's what they should be looking for. I'm not even, and honestly, if Jim's not going to draw comics and help the American comic book industry, which I get, he's not obligated to, but that is why he is who he is. It seems like he should take up the mantle of trying to go out here and find new great talent and try to direct these companies into this is the level of quality we need to strive for and to make it rain money for retailers. Comic fans make better books. I just don't get that vibe. I don't get that vibe. I see a guy that basically did what I've done many times with my contract at DC. DC was asking me to re-up. I'd be like, well, let me see like what Marvel wants and we'll talk. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But I think there is in this situation because the American comic book industry is desperate for a type of book like Jim could have produced, a new number one, a new jumping on point, something with some sizzle and excitement, but on the right property at the right time. And that is very desperately needed. I'm not even sure the new X-Men relaunch is really doing that well. It's well received, the first issue, but as far as a relaunch goes, it kind of seems lukewarm. I'm not hearing a lot of people jumping up and down for it. Could a Jim Lee made a big difference in that? Absolutely. I hope. But the real reality is, I don't know if Jim Lee or Rob Liefeld, no offense to these guys, I don't think they're the solution. I think the solution would have been trying to, in the last 10 years, make the new wave of superstar talent. And one of the big fears was these guys will go off and make a competition company, kind of like Image. And we can't build these guys up because they will become a threat to us. But the reality is that fear has basically kept this industry from developing a superstar talent. And not just them being super talented, but actually putting marketing power behind them, calling them the biggest thing in the world. It's kind of held basically comics back, in my opinion. I think like the American comic system has to go back to meritocracy, has to go back to the power of the creator. And companies, even if you're building up a creator to be a juggernaut one day that you're going to have to compete against, I don't know if not developing talent, the only thing it's done is made the industry so weak that any type of activist or SJW can take control over and not make any comic book sales, not make any money for retailers, not give fans quality comics. And it's the death of the American comic book industry as manga is thriving. It's not like people aren't reading comics. They're just not reading the comics we produce. Again, I think it's a crime to go up to guys that may be looking forward to retirement to beg them to keep drawing comics because we've just not developed talent. over the last 10 years. And again, when I say developing talent, somebody like David Finch, right? David Finch should be on one of these big reboots and should be pinned and in lights as the next big thing, like Jim Lee or Rob Liefeld, by one of these companies. They should be marketed as such, as super powerful. And I know the writer's marketing aspect of this doesn't want that, but it is a visual medium. We have to make people want to show up and look at these comics, because if they won't show up and look at these comics, they're sure as shit not going to read these comics. So therein lies the problem. If you guys will look down below, hit a like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Also, again, please go check out Inglorious Rex. It's ending in 5 days. We'd love to see you on board for this smash hit monster beat 'em up book. I'll leave you guys with a trailer for this, and we'll catch you guys again with another video.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. Truth always hurts worse. Doing good till first reverse, now you last. Blast of the bag. It's cool though. Last card player right. Uno. We never let up. Been down forever. Sick man, we fed up. Know that we tired. Wake up the beast that's been sleeping inside. It's time to ride. We ready to slide. Hard headed. I will not listen. If you do not get it, that's your bag. Keep up in the sky like we see you feet up. Metal meets metal, it's no keeping up. Sniper division, it's no seeing us. This here is earned, ain't no hookups. Swift you on the eat, gotta cook up. Next level on the way, better look up. Swift you on the eat, gotta cook up. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. Can't kill my dreams,